People love different color options for their products, from clothing, cars, and even their tech. Colors show volume and personality. Just look at phones. They can come in every color of the rainbow. When it comes to white, that seems to always go hand in hand with Apple products. The standard black option is always available, but people just seem to like white overall. When Apple offered a white Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pros, people started doing flips because people associate Apple with the color white. It's associated with perfection, honesty, being clean, a new beginning. Just for a couple examples, different color options always come down to personal preferences. I've had a few people reach out to me asking about white keyboard cases for the Mini 6, and sadly there aren't many options out there for such a small form factor, but I know of 2 keyboard cases that offer that color. Welcome back. It's V. Let's get started. Black vs. white, good vs. evil, Coke vs. Pepsi, Marvel vs. DC. These are just a few options people do prefer over the competition. Personally, I prefer my products wrapped in black, but that is my own personal preference. The Mini 6 gets about as much love as the iPhone 14 Pro, the Mini 13, and the iPhone 5C. There really isn't much support for it compared to the rest of the other product categories. You really have to hunt to find any good accessories for it. I have 2 different keyboard cases for the Mini 6, which do wrap the iPad in white. I have done separate video reviews for each of these products. I will list them both down below. The first one is the F22 Wing Keyboard case. It can be picked up off Amazon for around $60. This is one of my personal favorite keyboard cases for the iPad Mini 6, just because it's so thin. Barely any thicker than a normal folio case. The typing experience is that good. Quick replies for emails, iMessaging, Facebook, this really excels at that. The only downside is, because it's so thin, it needs its own special charging cable. Plus, battery life isn't as good as a competition. It should still get a week's worth of battery life with moderate usage before it needs to be topped up. The second one is an off-brand Magic Keyboard. There is no name or branding with this. In an older video, I called the black version the AliExpress Keyboard. This one can be picked up off AliExpress for around $70 depending on the vendor. On Amazon, that is a different story. That is around $200. I will try to list the cheapest option. This product, even though it looks like a Magic Keyboard, it doesn't have the best keyboard. It has no magic either. Even with the last few Magic Keyboards for the Mini 6, this one still suffers from the misplacement of the magnets. The right side does hang a little bit lower and isn't as secured to the keyboard case as I would like. When the iPad is fully opened in the keyboard case, the iPad does cover up the media keys. With the Doco variant, it sits flush with the media keys. It doesn't cover up anything. The keyboard here is not one of the better ones. It's a standard generic layout with mushy keys, which makes typing on it harder than it should be. Getting back to the F22 Wing, it is one of the best keyboard cases I have used. Even though it's so thin, the keys are big, they are raised up enough to really have a good typing experience. Nobody walking by would expect this to be a keyboard case. Because it is so thin, the charger has to be attached to it, so it can't be closed while charging. Sometimes when trying to close it, the fabric can be caught on the corner of the iPad. Neither of these are real deal breakers, but it can get annoying. The back of the case also doubles as a kickstand. It props the iPad up on the table. This keyboard case really isn't ideal for anyone's lap. When it's like this, the iPad just sits on the kickstand. The kickstand can be adjusted for any particular angle. It is actually quite sturdy. This is the last time I'm going to say it, because it's so thin. Comparing it to my normal case for my Mini 6 I've had for the last 2 years, this case is barely any thicker than my normal carrying case. That was from a company called Z Top. Back to the Magic Keyboard, it does charge with USB Type-C. The trackpad is usable but stiff. Trying to click on the trackpad has a bit of resistance, like trying to tap a key on a keyboard after it visited the beach. It's quite stiff. The F22 does not have a trackpad, so this is the only white keyboard that has that. One finger usage for clicking and dragging is stiff. It works, but extra force is needed to really kind of use it. This does have all the native gestures that Apple offers with their Magic Trackpad. Pinch to zoom works in the browser. It works everywhere. Scrolling with 2 fingers works well. 3 fingers with multitasking works just fine. Those don't actually involve clicking the trackpad, therefore it works decently. Sometimes going going too fast with the trackpad can cause it to hiccup. I would give the trackpad a 2 out of 5. It's better than some of the other ones, but it's like getting a D- compared to an F. It passes but barely. The keyboard is another story. It is backlit with a single color of white, 3 levels of brightness. The keyboard is stiff, the keys are quite mushy, it's quite cramped. Any keyboard for the Mini 6 will be kind of cramped, but some companies can work with limited real estate better than others. On a normal day, I can average 60 words per minute on a typical keyboard. Here I can get about 40 words per minute if I go slow and really take my time. All the keys do look the same. I really have to look down, stare, and hunt for the keys. It actually is quite a poor typing experience. On the flip side, the F22 Wing is one of the best keyboards. On average, I can get around 50 words per minute. The keys are really good to type on. On my top 5 keyboards of 2023 for the iPad Mini 6, the F22 was number 2 on my list. It would have been number 1 if it only had USB Type-C. It does need its own special charger, only one in the box, and if it is lost, you can't charge it. They are $10 a pop. Plus, they're short, only about a foot long. If traveling more than a few days, it needs to be topped up and charged. That's another specialized cable to bring. If that's the case, I need to bring USB Type-C with me, Lightning for my iPhone, my Apple Watch charger, and this. So I will need 4 different cables for 4 different products. Personally myself, it is still worth it though. It has a slim profile, no extra bulk, and it has an excellent keyboard. At the end of the day, there isn't a perfect keyboard for the Mini 6 with the best trackpad and keyboard. Even trying to find a particular color option is even more scarce. These are the only 2 white keyboards I know of. If looking for a matching white keyboard for the Mini 6 to kind of complement any of the bigger iPad Pros, really check out either of them. So like always, it's V, stay classy.